So Keith, whenever there's a standard like this or something that's compliance related, there's a risk that auditors can become more checklist oriented. So how does the standard keep us from missing anything, or are we missing stuff?
Really, I think the biggest problem that we run into with PCI is that it's a snapshot in time. And it's not so much organizations complying with the individual requirements, it's the continuing of complying with those requirements after the auditor has left the building. So I think what we look at a lot of times with organizations when we do assessments is, going through a checklist of things is fine. Are they reviewing firewall logs? Are they looking at antivirus logs? Are they following up with their security awareness program? That's great, but I think one of the main elements is that you need to dive a little bit deeper and look at their documentation to make sure that they're actually performing these checkpoints regularly when an auditor is not on site.
The council has been very adamant about the fact that security needs to be treated as a journey, not a destination. You can't say, okay, I've met my compliance obligation, I'm done, I don't have to do anything again until the auditors show up next year. They really do want everybody to understand that, if the defenses fall at any point, that's all they need. If you take the analogy like the TSA, which unfortunately all of us are very, very accustomed to at this point, they only need to miss one terrorist and it goes bad. So it's something that's going to constantly be part of our narrative going forward, and that's, I think, something that the council's always tried to push, is that PCI compliance can't be something that's just one and done. You're going to be doing this forever type of thing. And so trying to actually incorporate the controls that are part of it as part of your just business plan and operational expenditure.
Corbin, do you think there's a role for internal audit in all of this? Where can they add some value?
Part of the PCI standard, there is a role for internal audit that they've designed where they can say, look, if you have technical enough auditors and you have a sophisticated enough department, you can function as your own PCI DSS auditor through the internal audit department as long as management agrees to sign off. Now, admittedly, that you do run some risk there, the fact that now your senior management is signing off on your compliance and attesting to it without necessarily any independent judgment, but you do at least have that there. Even if you decide to hire an external auditor and go with a third-party auditor, which I generally would encourage, when you do that, as part of internal audit, you have the ability to understand what kind of evidence these guys are going to need. And any kind of third-party auditor that comes in is going to be able to need to see what kind of proof can be provided, what kind of documentation is there, what policies and procedures are there, sampling and work paper markup and all those sorts of things that are part of the internal audit process that a lot of IT groups and very technical departments don't understand or are new to them because they've only done it at maybe a Sarbanes-Oxley level, or they've only done it in a small area. And this is going to be much more expansive and much wider and much broader. So there's definitely a role that internal audit can add a lot of value in sort of moving that process along, potentially reducing the fees on your PCI DSS assessment from a third party because of the fact that they're not going to have to fight with the internal team to get evidence. So that can play a pretty significant role, as well as just trying to keep that sort of ongoing compliance program going. Once the third-party auditor leaves, make sure that we can say, okay, next year when they come back, we're not going to have to completely start over again.
What about reporting to the board? What do you think is the key role for audit in terms of that?
So I think with any board, they're going to be very concerned about whether this program is actually, has legs. And then again, if we talk about that journey and trying to make sure that this is a journey and that we didn't look at it as a destination when it got done, but having that sort of quarterly update saying, okay, yes, we believe we're still on track. Yes, we believe we're still doing good things. Sort of in tandem with our information security department, where they're going to be reporting on how are we protecting against breaches, how are we protecting against keeping the organization safe. Audit should be sort of reporting on, are we really keeping a good measure of that and a good metric of that? Are we monitoring that the way we'd expect to be monitoring that? And bringing that to the board so that the board can make effective management decisions about that leadership. Is that group really being effective at protecting us? Or is it a lot of just smoke and mirrors and, so far we've been lucky?
Right, absolutely. Making sure the board has the right information to make the right types of decisions.